bit context. The answer, Joy, to your question is anxiety. Are we anxious? Certainly. Just think about it. There is a meeting of 7,000 lawyers to comply with a court order in Entebbe. A year late, this meeting was booked, and Entebbe was booked, the Entebbe Imperial was booked for the 17th of December, 2024. There's an injunction on Thursday. The process of preparing the perishables that have to be paid for, the organization that has to be done, is now uncertain, even just from an organizing perspective. That's from the society perspective. Think of the lawyer. I have many colleagues up country who have to take a decision. Do they attend the pre-AGM on Friday? And do they make that decision on Thursday, or they plan for it earlier? I have many colleagues in Kampala who are saying, do I have enough points? There was a joke on a WhatsApp group yesterday. Someone said, you know what? Just look for all these other CLEs. The UCLF, the Uganda Christian Lawyers Foundation, has CLEs coming up. So someone said, interest yourself in the activities of the Christian lawyers so you can get points. For those who don't know, lawyers can't practice, as Shamim said, without points. Then there's the anxiety of candidates who have been campaigning for 45 weeks. You know how long it takes to campaign to be the president of Uganda? Do you know how long it takes? We're now in October. They have started campaigning. For them, they want to vote in January. But to be a commissioner on the Judicial Service Commission, it has taken us 45 weeks to make a case. You can see the stress is evident. There are some candidates that are even going haywire. I'm seeing one candidate posting my picture. He's forgotten himself. Now he's posting me. Like, imagine the stress levels that guy is going through. So you have a situation where there is anxiety. I don't want anyone to believe that we are here saying tomorrow, whatever happens. No, we are anxious. We are anxious, but then that anxiety is not the only problem. There is an actual constitutional crisis. This country is appointing judges, is electing a chief justice, while the Judicial Service Commission is not yet fully constituted. The framers specifically designed that commission to include senior lawyers, people who have been in the courts. The framers specifically designed it because they wanted and that's how the term lawyer's lawyer came up. They wanted a lawyer's lawyer. They said you must be a member of the Uganda Law Society and you must have 15 years standing. So the understanding was you must know what's happening in the court. I see many colleagues who may not have an idea, but you must know what's happening in the court. You must be able to say, we're having this challenge in court. And be able to go to the commission and say, my constituency, the lawyers have this challenge. Well, you know why the lawyers are important? Because they're the only ones who have a right of audience before the courts. You know who the courts serve? All the people of Uganda. So the 7,000 lawyers service 45 million people. Ugandans have been locked out of the Judicial Service Commission. That's actually what has happened. That the voice of the client, the voice of the accuser and the accused, the voice of the pleader and the pleaded against have been locked out in the management of our judiciary. It is a practical crisis. It is a constitutional crisis. It is a moral crisis. On the one hand, you are sitting, and on the other hand, you are stopping. And the colleagues, of course, were very happy with finding every little small technicality to say that the Law Society shouldn't carry out its constitutional function. No one ever got injunctions when two people sat in a room and wrote letters appointing on behalf of the whole Law Society. If a president of the Law Society wrote a letter nominating two people, it was accepted that one person can do that in a room. But there's something illegal about the 7,000 of us having this debate. There is something immoral about the 7,000 of us deciding who should speak for us. It's something that causes irreparable harm. You know, to get an injunction, you need to have irreparable harm. That in December of last year, there was irreparable harm if the lawyers had converged in Entebbe and picked 2 people as commanded by the Constitution to represent them. That there was that damages, that whatever, the damages wouldn't be adequate to whoever is unhappy. Which you need to get an injunction, you need to show that damages are not a sufficient remedy. You need to show that on the face of it, you have a case. Has there ever been a case to injunct the constitution of this country? This constitution that was written in 1995, after all Ugandans had been consulted, that people are injuncting it, so is handled at the same level as an eviction from a shop. What is the status quo to be maintained? A status quo of what? Of a commission that is improperly constituted? That's the status quo? Illegality? So, briefly, in answer to your question, Joey, there is anxiety. And this anxiety, I've told you, is being expressed by candidates. You imagine my colleagues. They are now walking around Kampala, knocking on doors. But they don't know. You know, I have been in court. I had a trial, so I've been unable to walk. But one of my colleagues was telling me how he's being asked, so is there an election? Imagine the anxiety of my colleague. So we have our colleagues walking around Kampala. And that's why I wanted really to share this platform with them. I think some of them, maybe it was too late to get them. I wanted really you to really feel the pain of the colleagues, and maybe it was also short notice for many of them. And maybe some of them, I don't know. But there's pain, I can tell you. There's personal pain on the candidates. There's pain on the lawyers. There's a lawyer who is prepared for his, it costs money to get these silly points. Maybe they should start licensing the judicial service conversations. We give people points. Because for us, all you need is data to listen to us. But you go and you listen to someone teaching you about insurance law, and to get 5 points, it costs money. Now, Alfred went and convinced the Law Society to reduce the money for young lawyers. Just because you are young doesn't mean you are poor. Some of the old lawyers also don't have money. But for them, they don't have that same discount because we don't have an old lawyers committee. So they wait for these events because these events provide a substantial amount of points. So the practice of the law is affected, the candidates are affected, the democratic process is affected, the constitution is affected, but also the belief in the administration of justice. Just think about it. The president of the Law Society was convicted without trial and in February. You can't get a hearing for a stay of application until October. This other fellow who held a meeting with himself, signed a paper, has now been able, within 1 week, to get himself a ruling date for tomorrow. How will Uganda start trusting that type of process? The law must be fair to all of us, or it will be fair to none of us. So I'll finish my long rant. One time, somebody raised frustrations with the legal system in Uganda. And I recall the former Chief Justice, the Honorable Justice Bart Katurebe, said that in the book, I think it's Man of All Seasons, I think there's a conversation of Thomas More and Roper, where the man said, and now this is to specifically those who say, but the lawyers are unruly, there is indiscipline, You lawyers you are actually the problem. Can you sit down and talk amongst yourselves? And I'll say, okay, let us say the lawyers are the problem and let's turn them into the devil himself. And Thomas More and Roper had a conversation, and Roper asked, would you give the devil the benefit of the law? And Thomas More said, of course I would. Because this country is littered with laws like trees all over the place. If you cut them all down so you can get to the devil, what protection shall you have when the devil himself turns on you? The law is not, the law, when it protects those you don't like, it protects you. And I think those who have this anxiety about the law society, let the law be followed. We can't have a law for applicants who are holding imaginary meetings, and by the way, they are imaginary. But anyhow, we can't have a law for people where someone can take his imagination to court and get an injunction. Now, I'm not saying that the injunction is going to be given. I have no idea what the judge will be, and I don't want to be guilty of any form of subjudice, but I'm telling you the truth. The truth is I do not see why a status quo of unconstitutionality should be maintained in a court. I do not see the irreparable harm people suffer if 7,000 lawyers converge and pick their choices. I do not see. So I am not going to lie to you. No, I'm very anxious about the ruling tomorrow. I am understandably anxious. I'm anxious and not very happy that we really, what more could be done? Some colleagues say, you know what? You extended this council illegally. And because of that, the Judicial Service Commission must not be constituted. And I don't agree that we extended it illegally, first of all. But secondly, I've been here long enough to know that we've extended the council before. The issue of who leads the law society is a question of the law society. We extended the council, I've told you in 2015, to get the rules we are using. The term of council had expired. We extended it in a meeting. We said, you know what? Cancel the election, extend the life of council for a period. In fact, they actually overstayed the period we had extended them. Not once in my practice. I've seen us extending, I think, twice or three times councils. I didn't see the world ending. I'm told one of our candidates is on. But we are going to be ending this space earlier today. But like I said, we have ever extended the life of this council. The extension, you know, some people make it look like the world has ended. When lawyers meet and determine how they shall be governed, when did this society stop being self-governing? And you know, we extended. Now, some people are unhappy with that extension and they are saying, you know, we have to learn to live together as brothers, as someone once said, or to perish together as fools. But this country depends on the seriousness of the issues that are at stake. Right now, you've heard from one of the candidates about the concerns people have with judicial officers. Nobody helps the judiciary by removing the oxygen of confidence. When I get angry with you, I must be able to threaten to take you to court. Can you imagine if that threat is not available to me? People are going to start punching each other. Actually, they are already punching each other. But the judiciary we must protect, as officers of the court, we must protect the sanctity of the courtroom environment. And I think for many lawyers, they feel that maybe there's been some ability to pull the court into the arena, which is unfortunate. So I'm anxious. I'm not going to lie. And maybe I should stop expressing my anxiety over and over again. Yeah.
Listening to you, I could feel the frustration. I could feel a frustration that a lot of the people in the law society are feeling, a lot of the people in the public are feeling. Any place you go to and introduce yourself as a lawyer, there are a couple of questions that follow up. What happened to your law society? What happened to the president? What's happening? What's happening? And we don't have so many answers. You mentioned these 28 applications. I can't believe that we had, was it a wait party? The party watch party. We were waiting for a ruling. And I don't think what we're experiencing now is any different. It's not a party, but we're also waiting for something that could determine whether we can have our election or not, and whether we can actually progress in making decisions as lawyers that are pertinent to how our law society is going to run in the future. I don't know what precedents we are setting for the younger lawyers and for how we're going to run the society in the next 5, 10, 20 years, but I think very interesting precedents have been created in this 1 year. And that takes me to my question, Ellison. From a place of reflection, do you think what we are experiencing now was avoidable? And how could it have been avoided? Or how could things have been done better or differently? And as you answer that question, I would like for you to think of these applications. I would like for you to think of a school of thought where people think maybe we shouldn't have had these elections altogether, because we could have had our representatives at the Judicial Service Commission, and we would not have had to go. I mean, it's happened how many years now? It's been happening. So with the change and the need to vote this time, there's been a lot of ruckus. So there's a school of thought, and I know a number of people think that maybe we could have just kept things the way they were. What's your opinion on that? And as you respond to that, I'd like you to also consider these other people who have reached out to me asking me the Judicial Service conversations post-election of Ellison as the representative of the Uganda Law Society at the Judicial Service Commission. Do we expect to have these conversations go on? Why? I think we've been able to create a neutral platform for a number of lawyers and just generally people in the public to come and share their thoughts and come and discuss pertinent issues. I know the person who reached out to me about this issue was in the oil and gas space. He's a lawyer in private practice, acting as an in-house lawyer at a particular entity, but the interest is very clear. Do you think these conversations can go beyond the elections? I would like for you to respond to those 3 questions. Thank you.
So the 3 questions are: 1, did we need an election? Maybe just if you could just give the 3 again.
Yes, number 1, could what we're experiencing have been avoided, and how could it have been avoided? Number 2, was an election necessary, or could we have just kept things as they were? Number 3, shall we have the Judicial Service conversations continue after your election on Saturday as a representative to the Uganda Society, to the Judicial Service Commission? Thank you.
I'll start with, should we have just continued the way we were? No. Simply put, no. And I'll tell you why. I know for some people an election is about ambitions. But actually, in the truest sense, an election is not a contest of ambitions, but it is a covenant of trust between the person who serves and the people that they will serve. You go out and you make your case to the people who you want to represent. To suspend the voice of those people in determining who shall serve them is to silence them, and it is to disorganize the constitutional balance that had been set out. A ballot is like an act of faith, an act of trust. It is like a covenant. Somebody wakes up and goes to Entebbe Imperial Real to vote. That person is making a statement of faith and trust. And the person they are voting for is making a covenant, is making an agreement, becomes accountable, becomes property. My colleagues and myself are walking around, I've told you. We've been walking around for months, actually. And you walk into someone's chambers and you see, what are you going to do for me? Can I take a picture with you? Can I have your number? That's a covenant. When you do become a judicial service commissioner, and this person is stuck in a court situation where the judge is just something else to him, he has a person he can call and say, you man, I voted for you. I'm stuck. The alternative was who were those representatives of the Law Society. Of course they were. Maybe they did a great job as well. But the truth of the matter is, where was their covenant with the ordinary member? Right now, an advocate of 1 year's practice, of 6 months' practice, is very important to me. I cannot joke around with that person. He's my boss. I have to go to him. I find someone telling me, how radical are you? I have to tell him I'm very radical. I find someone else telling me, I don't like radicals. I say, I understand what you're saying. But at the end of the day, that politics, that everyday political discussion is about building covenants. And those covenants are about building bridges. I'll tell you. Right now, there's a backlog problem, for example. So the judiciary tells its judges, you guys, I need you to start posting your numbers. Where are your numbers? And this actually is happening in Uganda today. A judge goes to a station, a far-off station, maybe up country, and says, you know what? I need to post good numbers. So he walks in and says, in this village, if you don't have letters of administration and you have any lawsuit, I am closing your files. And in one day, he closes 100 files. He posts it here and they say this judge is a star performer. How will the judiciary ever know that that judge is not a star performer if the lawyers in that place have no valve, have no outlet, have nowhere to scream? That is the importance of an election. An election is about the members of the law society. Think about what the Constitution says. 2 people nominated by the Uganda Law Society. The framers had it in their minds in 1995. In 1995, that you know what? Let the Law Society pick 2 people. Not a small selection of the Law Society. And then it limited who the Law Society can pick. It said, you know what, Law Society, not just a member of the Law Society, 15 years. So the framers set in motion that the lawyer must have some hustle behind him or herself, must have some credibility in the membership of the Law Society. They created a certain senior bar that should be democratically accountable. So, in answer to the question, was the other option better? How could silence? You know, sometimes tension is better than injustice. And that sometimes injustice, it is better that you hear this positive tension that leads to change than have a negative peace. We would have a much stronger and safer judicial system once people are accountable. And you've heard Shamim. She has told you actually the reality of lawyers. It is that every day he walks into court, he wants a hearing for his client. That's what the lawyer wants. Some people think it's a political thing. Which political party are you in when you're going for a JSC election? In fact, what lawyers want is justice. Because lawyers are at the front line of justice. We're applying for bail. There are those who are in the state bar. They feel, a prosecutor feels, I am putting away bad people. A defense lawyer feels, I am stopping an injustice towards innocent people. That contest between us, we feel it, we fight it. We are so passionate when you see us in courts, almost tearing each other's ears off. But then when we get out, we all understand what each of us is doing. But we need to be accountable to the lawyer. So my first answer to your question is no. What was happening, we refused it in 2015. We refused it in 2015 because we felt, represent us. We don't feel our voice is being represented. The High Court agreed with us in the Kalari case. They said, you guys, vote. The High Court ordered this election. It is inconceivable for us to think that selection is better than election of representatives. It is inconceivable. Me right now, I can tell you, we are 10 people moving up and down, telling lawyers, they're asking us, what are you going to do for me? What have you done for me lately? What are you going to do for me? What is your manifesto? We are going to go into a commission. Someone tells you, but you're only 2. There are 9 people there. How will you convince them of what you're saying? You have to answer that question also. How much of what you're promising can you deliver? All this is what you call accountability. There are 2 types of accountability. There's autocratic accountability. That is where the bottom accounts to the top. And there is democratic accountability. That is where the top accounts to the bottom. In my view, the answer to your question is, which accountability do you prefer? Which accountability is accountability? What will make your life easier in practice? What will make this profession go forward? And in that regard, I really want to congratulate the Council of the Uganda Law Society, what they call the Radical New Bar Council. I want to congratulate them because, let me tell you, we all know, maybe people don't know, but the Judicial Service Commission already wrote to the Council of the Law Society and told them, nominate 2 people. Where are your nominees? They don't care how you nominate them. Just send us 2 names. The temptation to sit, there is no injunction stopping them from sitting down, finding 2 of their friends, and writing a letter appointing 2 people. That we are here is a testament to a faith in the bar. So I will not join those who want to always attack them. And many of my friends tell me, but you, why aren't you attacking these guys? I will not join them. Because they have really stood at a front line where the temptation, there is an option. These guys are in the Garden of Eden. They have been given the apple. They have been told, you guy, did God tell you not to eat this apple? And they are holding this is the Eve that does not bite. So for me, I cannot condemn them. Could things have been done better? Maybe. In hindsight, many things could have been done better. But sometimes let us distinguish between strategy and tactics. Let us distinguish between what you need to reach the end and what you've done at this point. Ultimately, for me, it is, what's the word? Heartbreaking that people don't think that it's good for us to have a debate about who should represent us. I don't mind, by the way, who the lawyers feel at the end of the day is best suited. I'm confident they'll see correctly that it is the lawyer's lawyer who will speak for the lawyers, but I don't mind. And I said it in the debate because we were asked, who do you recommend? And I said, most people here, or everybody here minus. But if my minus wins, I'm happy with that. Because you see, at the end of the day, what harm can it be for the Constitution to be? Some people sat down long ago. By the way, we must always respect the men and women who crafted these provisions, because their intention was at its most noble. They were saying, how can we make this work and that work and that work? And the structure they gave for this actually is the working structure. But convenience has refused to accept this, this position. Then your third question was, shall we continue the JS? Is able to say that they are able to prepare and implement programs for the education of and for the dissemination of information to judicial officers and the public about the law and the administration of justice more than the lawyer's lawyer. So before you go into asking whether this conversation will continue or not, can you see that there's a person who the Constitution had already thought of, who the Constitution had already placed in mind, whose skill set the Constitution already needed? I don't need to make anyone a promise about fulfilling the mandate of Article 147(1)(c) of the Constitution. Because together with mercy, joy, Alfred, Rushongoza, Raymond Mujuni, and a host of people. People like Gertrude Njuba, people like Justice Yorakamba Mwine, people like Moses Kahane, people like Isaac Semakade, people like Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, people like Norbert Mao. We have brought them to you. People like Ali Sekatawa, people like Ferdinand Tumuhaise, people like Joseph Chaze, people like Kunya, people like like lawyers from England, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, the justice centers, people like Christine Biriwa, people like Omumbe Jatha Clark. I can tell you without fear of conversation or contradiction. If you wanted to know about programs for the education and dissemination of information, I can tell you without fear of contradiction that on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, we have judges that tune into these spaces. I could call them out now. I can see some of them now from the Supreme Court, from the Court of Appeal, from the High Court. We have magistrates. You don't, when it comes to whether this conversation will continue or not, that is one thing. But for the business of Saturday,
To also ask his questions. I think it's a good time for me to just say, Olimujawa, Omusaja, Asinga Ellison, Karuhanga. Thank you very much, Ellison, for that very detailed but very appropriate response to all those questions. I think it gives back the responsibility to the members of the Uganda Law Society on Saturday to reflect not just on who has been doing the work for the past, I don't know how many months, but the importance of having their voice heard at the Judicial Service Commission. It's not about nomination of a certain group, but it's important that you have people who can hold accountable to their manifesto. And I think, Ellison, you really expressed that point quite clearly, and thank you very much for that. Alf, if you could come and ask a question to Ellison as well.
maybe just before Alf,
Yes, please.
when I was mentioning people, I forgot to mention people like Shamima Molo. I forgot to mention that the Uganda Law Society on its own awarded these judicial service conversations. Of course, there were 2 awards. Most people don't know that there were 2 awards. One was to the commissioner of the Judicial Service Commission. It was a bit prophetic, but the other one, which Alfred picked up, the correct one, was to the Judicial Service Conversations. So people have seen. And so when you look at 147, 1C, remember, Alfred.
Yeah, thank you, the lawyer's lawyer. Maybe speaking to the voice on continuing, Madam Nora is saying that we need to bring this conversation a stronger voice of clients of the bar who are impacted by decisions of the bench and practice of the bar. And you also had a question regarding it was commented that we need to bring this conversation is a stronger voice of clients of the bar who are impacted by the decisions of the bench and practice of the bar. And then he thanked you for recognizing the role of the Radical New Bar Council for not eating the fruit when it's there. When you are giving, let me say, election, what it needs to be to issue an temporary injunction, the I was on call, I was like, as I prepare for PNT exams, I think this is another lecture. They may ask me the grounds for issuing a temporary injunction. And on that note also, still Madam Nora commented of, she's really wondering an application to stay an illegality of an illegally constituted the service commission, which not constitutes the constitution. Then regarding Mercy's question on whether we should have had elections or not initially, when you were giving the history, that we were supposed to have had this election is in 2015. So, Nura wondered that 10 years ago, there was a reason to have this election is what went wrong. So I need first maybe have a question answered before I can ask Main to represent our audience online. So in case of any other person who has any question online, you can request make her to speak, or you can share in the comment section, just like how Madam Nora has been doing. But at least for that part of what went wrong, why didn't we have them all that long? Thank you.
I want to thank Nora. She's really been our listener.
Yes.
And our supporter. She has really been here with us Wednesday after. When we started this conversation, we didn't think that people who are not lawyers would appreciate them. And so on Wednesday, she takes the time to come here. There are so many people. People like Nicholas Opio. Not only that, he had even stood in for us. So we've now your questions, if I got them right. The first one was. And then I think if you followed the first debate, the debate between Shamima Molo and Senior Counsel Fiona Wall, there were discussions about what went wrong. But the fact is, whatever went wrong, the first thing that happened is it's not just 10 years ago. Because remember, our regulations of 10 years ago were put in place because of a lawsuit by Isaac Semakade. It is 1995 where the framers of the Constitution said the Uganda Law Society shall nominate. I am 100% sure that in their mind, they did not have the idea that one guy will write a letter. And so, there's been a fear of democratic accountability. You know, the legal profession is designed and structured in a very interesting way. When you're an old lawyer, you look back and say, these young lawyers are really a very big danger to the what? To the future of the practice of the law. So many times, many people in the legal profession end up fearing elections. So maybe that is part of the problem. I think there's a quote that is attributed to Socrates. Of course, it's a fake quote. But he says that children these days love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority. They show disrespect for elders. They love chatter in place of work. Children are now tyrants, not the servants of their households. That Socrates allegedly said that in 469 BC. I just want you to think about that. That Socrates thought that children of those days were bad-mannered. So it's been a general feeling in society, and I think the law society has suffered this. There are people who genuinely fear, not for any adverse motive on their part, or maybe for an adverse motive, the voice of electors at an election. That you shall take sensible arguments, and then they shall vote for the worst possible candidate. And that the best thing to do is to limit it and to get a certain caliber of people, maybe past presidents of the law society, maybe a small elite club. I think that has been an ideology. But it is certainly not the ideology of the framers of the 1995 Constitution. In my view, that is what has gone wrong. But however, now I think we need to come to the realization that the senior members of the profession have offered themselves. Let's have the election, let's give the chance, and let's have the debate that decides this election. The other question was?
No, all of them have been answered, I think. The other ones were just commenting. to them. So now I want to speak to your article on Monday about telling us to be adults in the room. I know it was published in the Observer yesterday. Sorry, today? I said in the Observer as well. As a person who has written articles, I know there's a lot which is left besides the articles because of the character limit. But I would like you to just speak more to it. And then, because as I said, the rhythm of truth and justice cannot be silenced by injunction is, we hope it's not silenced tomorrow. And we get to have another watch party for that tomorrow as well, as we wait for the injunction. And then my last question, as the election approaches, what is your last message to the bar? And how would you want to be remembered after the ballot, regardless of the result? Thank you.
Of course, I'll tell you selfishly, I want to be remembered as the winner. The issue of what we're writing in the paper, I think, is what we've basically said on this space. The argument is simply, in my view, it is just inconceivable that we are toying around with the idea of having a properly constituted constitutional body. I just don't understand why. Like I have told you, it is easy. There is no injunction on the Law Society nominating any two lawyers that they want of 15 years standing. At the moment, they can do it. But really, we are here because we have canvassed for this vote, because we have engaged the membership, because we have energized the membership, and because we have brought a debate about judicial practice that I don't think we've had in this country in a while. We haven't just brought heat. This elections sometimes bring heat, but this particular one has also brought light. We have brought ideas. 142.2, in my view, is light, not just heat. We have generated some heat, yes, but we've generated light as well. We have said, guys, we have a backlog crisis, we have a constitutional solution, let us do it. And there's been a debate. There are people who say, no. For me, I am not the Chief Justice or the President, and I have no business with 142.2. There are people who say, 142.2, what will it bring? That debate has been healthy. So I am saddened in a way that many colleagues, actually I think many colleagues agree with me, but I'm saddened in a way that it is looked at as a contest between bar and bench. You can't have a contest between bar and bench, because what affects one directly affects the other one directly. I think it is, I'm quoting, I think, Martin Luther King, who said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And that's the fact. Any injustice to anyone threatens justice to everyone. And that is what we invest in, and that is what we think about. So on the article itself, I think the argument we are making is really an argument for the self-determination of the bar. Is an argument that the members of the bar, we could all have sat back. We could all have gone back and said, let's wait for this issue to be resolved. But we chose not to. We chose not to because this is actually a point of principle, not a point of, when we only started this election, people said, the Judicial Service Commissioner maybe gets free fuel. I guarantee you we are not looking for, anyone who has been in this thing now knows, we're not looking for benefit. We have had a debate because this is our practice. It's ours. We are part of it. What else do we do? If we kill this profession, where do we go? Like Thomas More said, when the trees are cut and the devil turns on you, where will you run to? So that is really, you can see I'm getting better as we're ending it. My answers are becoming shorter, but yeah.
Yes. Talking of sitting back and what about benefits? Someone lost music and that's me. But Elson, is the kind of person I look up to, and to me I think he has it all. Why is he suffering with the campaigns for a full year? And the question he posed was, what really inspired you to offer yourself to serve on the Service Commission, and even to now to keep campaigning for a full year, yet you also had sat back after the first injunction? Why are you still pushing for the same thing a year later? But the first question was, what really inspired you to offer yourself to serve on the commission? Because I say it's not about benefits, it's not about the money, but there's that thing behind which made you to offer yourself to serve, and he wants to know that bit as well.
Okay. I will start with sitting back after the injunction. We never sat back.
Yes.
In fact, the injunction was given the very next day. We continued our campaign. The very next day, we wrote in the Monitor that we are continuing and that reggae and justice must be combined. You can get that article. Or we made the case that the bar speaks of 45 million Ugandans. That New Year's, 2nd of January, we began our countrywide tour. When we came back from our countrywide tour, we opened these spaces. We have been in the middle of legal practice, in the middle of work, in the middle of very public trials and very private trials, in the middle of work, in the middle of a campaign. We have never stopped for a minute. So I first want to correct that. But then the question then is what made me stand? You know, I just think about it. And I'm going to say this in all humility. Although, once I enjoy, don't think I'm saying it with any amount of humility. The Constitution says, there shall be a Judicial Service Commission. That is Article 146.1. There shall be a Judicial Service Commission. The Judicial Service Commission shall consist of the following persons, shall be appointed by the President with the approval of Parliament. And then it says, in C, 2 advocates of not less than 15 years standing, nominated by the Uganda Law Society. So when they were writing this phrase, they were thinking, who should represent the Law Society? A member of 15 years standing. What were they thinking about? They were thinking someone senior enough, who has walked through the courts, who has litigated, who is well known in the community of lawyers. They were thinking about me. When they wrote this provision, because for me, I have worked in the state as a state attorney. I have worked in private practice. I have worked at the commercial bar. I have worked at the criminal bar. I have handled constitutional matters. I have handled matters in the Supreme Court. I have been to the East African Court of Justice. This profession of carrying the file, filing the application, and raising the preliminary point of law, that's the thing which me I have done. Other people have done other things. People have done impact things, what things, written what. For me, the thing which me I have done, you know, someone once called me something, but I won't repeat it. But that thing what he was calling me is this practice. That I have got a client walking into my office and telling me, my husband is beating me. I have got a client telling me, my land has been taken. I've got a bank telling me, I have this challenge. So that lawyer who has worked in those courts for 15 years is the one they were thinking about. The one who has attended the AGM, is the one they were thinking about. The one who at the AGM moves the motion for the election, who can stand before his peers and convince all of them, including the one who is going to sue. He first agreed with me, then he had to go sleep and wake up and then they say, hey, I disagree with you now. But the one who can convince that guy to stand up proudly and even cheer. By the guys who are petitioning, they clapped very hard when we what? That lawyer who can do that, that's what they can. So when I read the provision of the Constitution, I said, but these guys thought about me. So why not offer myself? Why not? If not me, then who? If not now, then when? So that is what inspired me to stand. When I read it, there shall be a Judicial Service Commission. The Judicial Service Commission shall consist of, unfortunately, at the moment, the Judicial Service Commission does not consist of what is written in the Constitution. But on Saturday, God allowing, that will be corrected, and the membership shall resoundingly send me to the Judicial Service Commission.
It's okay.
Thank you very much. For today, we have you on the spot. Out there, the people who are just like behind you and saying, vote EK for JSC, the lawyer's lawyer, nobody can stop reggae. I think this is the right time, sir, for you to tell us who is Ellison and what really makes him tick. I think we should have started with that. I know we had forgotten it, but you need to really tell us who are you and what makes you tick. I think some people have watched videos of you in the Katanga case. They've listened to you on this space, but we never really get that behind our candidate. So today, since we have got you on the spotlight, and Alfred wants to chip in, I think it's our turn to fire him questions. Okay, over to you, sir. Alfred, I think you might want to chip in.
Yes, just add that what makes him tick. You know, you can have these spaces like up, and we go like up to 10, and you would think, ordinarily me, I would end up sleeping like up to 8 a.m. the next morning. But again, by like 5 sharp, Ison is awake. I'm like, I would still be sleeping by now. So that speaks to what makes you tick. Even when we think he's tired now, he should be resting. He's there. Recently, when we had the debate, he was from handling the trial, the Kadanga trial, and we thought he was going to be late, and he showed up, and honestly, it didn't appear like he had a long day. But now another person would have said, I've done enough for today. I can send in the apologies and I don't come. So I want to know that driving force of always showing up even when you're tired. Because even for this full year of campaigning, there's that driving force of showing up without the pressure when you're tired. That speaks to what really makes you tick. We have never got to learn, but this is a opportunity for us to get to know that. Thank you.
Okay, so that's a good question. My name is Ellison Karahanga. I am a lawyer. I don't think that law is a career. I think law is a career, but it's also a calling. I think many times you're talking about people have seen me in the Katanga trial. I don't want people to think that I have a bad relationship with my colleagues there. Sometimes things get heated, but we are learned friends with all those colleagues who are there, and actually good friends. But a law is a covenant, really, between the conscience and country. You go to argue the law to make the place better. I am an advocate. I am a partner in KAA. Which is a full-service law firm. I am from a family of lawyers. My father is a lawyer, as you all know. What makes me tick? I think the idea that we must leave this profession better and stronger than we found it. I remember when I first started work as a lawyer, my boss, who is now a very senior lawyer in NSSF, but my first boss at the time, was very helpful to me because every time I took her letter, she would correct it in pen. And there was more blue on my paper than black. And I learned then that I really need to learn. And so I think what makes me tick is the idea that we need to learn. And it is in this journey of this election that I've learned a lot from colleagues because, we've worked with colleagues from every corner of this country. We've listened to their stories. We've stood in their trenches where their law matters. And I've learned what makes me tick is that our greatest strength lies not in our power, but in our purpose. What are we here for if we're not here to strive to improve where we can, to improve, to make sure that iron sharpens iron, to understand that this is in this profession, this limited privilege that we have to stand before courts as lawyers. It's a limited privilege. So I'm answering your question in a dodgy way, but the truth is that I'm a lawyer. I'm the lawyer's lawyer. I am the incoming commissioner to the Judicial Service Commission. But I am also a family man. I am also, yeah, I think that is my answer. I am the lawyer's lawyer. That is what makes me tick. I didn't know how hard that question was, but it's now a very good form of malice. And we never tell people, because sometimes we tell guys, we're going to discuss this, that. When they get here, they say, who are you and what makes you tick? So I've now learned to do unto others as you'd have them do unto you.
Just I had one question from inbox, but any other one who has a question, you can either request a microphone to speak or ask in the comment section. I think we shall have this last one from online. Someone has said, as you have said, you've practiced for almost 2 decades, and from corporate bar, state bar, from everywhere. So, and you call yourself the lawyer's lawyer. How will you ensure that the voice of the practicing lawyer is heard and respected in commission decisions in practical terms? That's one from online. Thank you.
The truth is that we are going to have many debates in the commission.
Yes.
We intend to win most of them, but we are alive to the fact that we may not win all of them. But there are debates that we are going to have, and there are debates we must have, and we must really fight to win them. How do we make sure that the voice of the practicing lawyer is heard? By being that voice, because we're representatives. Think of the advocate. When Justice Chiriawire was in the commercial court, I remember he was, I think, the head of the court. I was not young. I was not a young lawyer, but I was an old lawyer. What do you call those lawyers who are neither young nor old? Maybe I was a medium lawyer. Huh? And he had this thing at the back of him that because as a medium lawyer, we used to wait for senior counsel to go first. In those days, they were very strict about seniority. So you would sit in the court waiting for your turn, and you would really wait. And someone is cross-examining you. Your court was for 9, it would be maybe slightly later. But I remember I used to have this thing behind him that said that the advocate and is not a delegate, but a representative. He owes to his client the benefit of his wisdom, skill, and experience. But he must never knowingly misstate the law or willfully misstate the fact, though it be to his benefit. And then it went on to say, he must always remember that he has a higher retainer in the cause, I think, of truth and justice, or something like that. Used to be behind him. You can see how long I used to sit in that court. I really remember that quote because I would really read that quote a lot. And that for me is what representation is at the Judicial Service Commission. It's the same thing as representation in the court. It is the idea that you owe to that you must understand that you're here to make things better. You are a representative, yes, you're a nominee of the Law Society, yes, but you're a commissioner of the Judicial Service of Uganda. So you must be accountable to the principles of truth and justice. Now, how will I make sure that practically the voice of the lawyer is heard? By speaking. At the moment, the lawyer is not at the table. Today, as we speak, there is no representative of the Law Society in the JSC. Once we get in there, we shall certainly be saying the things we have had on this long campaign trail. Who haven't we really talked to? Yeah, I think that is the answer.
I think Mr. Son has answered all the questions for tonight. And since he's usually the host and he always has the parting shots, this actually I would like to thank everyone who has been with us since 7. I would like to thank Social Meme for joining us. Just a minute. Okay. There's a question from one of our own. can. I've sent you a microphone to speak. I don't know.
Speak on his.
Okay. You can. You, you can ask. We shall be. Come on, you get me.
Thank you so much, Alfred, and our commissioner. My question is about in Uganda, we basically have issues of access to justice, especially to the vulnerable and marginalized groups of people. So my question is about that. Of course, I'm very sure that our commissioner is going to get that, yes. But my question is, suppose he gets that chance of going to that, broadcast that was aired on NTV, whereby we had a certain gentleman who was remanded to reserve prison in 1997, and up to date, he went to court for trial. Helping vulnerable and marginalized groups of people access justice, regardless of who, as long as such people are people of Uganda and they are all entitled to justice. Thank you so much. That's the question I'm having.
Constitution. Article. That everyone is entitled. Everyone is entitled. Maybe let me actually read it. Article 28, Clause 1 of the Constitution creates a right. It says, in the determination of civil rights and obligations, or any criminal charge, a person shall be entitled to a fair, speedy, and public hearing before an independent and impartial court or tribunal established by law. So first of all, there is a constitutional right to a fair and speedy public trial before an independent and impartial tribunal. The moment you remove speedy from trial, you are in the realm of unconstitutionality. But the Constitution doesn't stop at giving a right. It also creates a duty. Article 126 of the Constitution provides, and let me quote it, the exercise of judicial power. I want to read 1 and 2b. Article 126(1). Judicial power is derived from the people and shall be exercised by the courts established under this Constitution in the name of the people and in conformity with the law, values, norms, and aspirations of the people. So judicial power is derived from the people. It is exercised in the name of the people, and it is exercised in conformity with the aspirations of the people. Then, 2, in adjudicating cases of both a civil and criminal nature, the courts shall, not the courts may, the courts shall, not the courts perhaps should, the courts shall subject to the law, apply the following principles. B, justice shall not be delayed. So you have, number one, a right to a speedy trial. Number two, a duty imposed upon the courts to ensure they conduct justice in the name of the people. And number three, a command imposed on the judiciary that justice shall not be delayed. You then have the tools given to the judiciary in Article 142. When you read the infrastructure of our Constitution, everything must be done by all state actors, by the executive, by Parliament, by the judiciary, to ensure that this Constitution moves away from, as someone once said, from thin paper to thick action. It is unconstitutional for somebody to be on remand for 28 years. So supposing they find him guilty, leave alone innocent, supposing they find him guilty, what more are they going to do to him? You know, one time, an officer of security assaulted a professor. And so the professor told him that I've reached the highest stage of learning in my field. I'm a professor. So what do you think you're going to teach me by beating me? What new lesson am I going to learn from this beating? What punishment are you going to impose upon someone who has been in jail for 28 years? But also, how is his remand almost as old as the Constitution? We need to understand that there are systemic issues. Why can't we look at solving these problems in a systemic way? And I've been proposing many solutions. But the whole principle is that we must turn our courtrooms into services, not just buildings. Someone must be able to sit down and have a hearing. But why should you drive prisoners from Luzira to court? Put them on Zoom. Have as many hearings as you can. Yeah.
Because when you mentioned that a ballot is like a covenant between, and a covenant of trust between the voter and the one who is contesting. Someone said this one should be applicable nationwide, even national elections which are ongoing, with the campaigns ongoing. So it seems that this election has really sent a big message to the whole country as a whole, not only to lawyers. But from your perspective, if this election is supposed to send that one message to the legal profession, what message has it sent, or what message would it be from your perspective?
Of course, this election sends a message far beyond the walls of the bar. This election is an election that shows you that reason still has a voice, that lawyers are dialoguing and choosing dialogue over decree, and that ballots should be stronger than injunctions. That we believe in renewal and restoration, and that we care. So I'd say that the election of the Law Society representatives of the Judicial Service Commission is not, how would I put it, is not a contest, but it's more like a declaration that our lawyers believe injustice by consent, and that the excitement and the energy at the bar is proof that ideas still count and that debates still matter, and that in the marketplace of ideas, it is a good place to put your best foot forward. That, I hope, is the lesson that the country can take from the small election being conducted in our tiny society. But I think the lesson that we can take from the country is that it's coming to 10 p.m. and we're having a discussion about an election this weekend, and that many of our compatriots, many of them non-lawyers, many of them who have never met or heard of us, together with the lawyers, are here listening to the struggles of the bar. And I think we should take humility as lawyers in the fact that people are listening to this discussion, people are listening to this debate, and we need to ensure that we continue to conduct it on the high planes of dignity and discipline.
When you are telling what makes you tick, it's hard, yes, part of a family man, but as you get the parting shots, on most of your speeches, you have been starting with Article 142.2, and there are lawyers on call who don't move with their constitutions. Even those who move with them, they don't open them. Me, I don't know when I last opened my constitution, so I want to represent them to ask, what is it about 142.2 which you keep? It's like it's your pitching tone when you're starting the conversation, and I would want you to really have just one more light on it. I saw somewhere, before, as you come to give more light on that, I saw our Edina Angul on call. I don't know. Just request from you, ULS, you had the hearing for the the meeting on Saturday. You had the sharing for the Kasiki. We have seen the cocktail party. Young lawyers are sharing, are ready to go and get their points, the 10 points. I requested that you could send me a request to speak, just so that you just highlight for us how, just give us a picture of how the event is going to happen. Also, I've seen Ferdinand on call. He was one of our good speakers of the people we hosted. I don't know why you left him out, but I think as I speak for the young lawyers, and also not very well from the young lawyers, Ferdinand and Caesar were one of those people we hosted. Rocky talk about the young lawyers and the justice in Uganda. So it would be detriment of to have this last dance without hearing from them. I've sent a request to speak to Ferdinand, to represent the young lawyers, also to Edina Angulu. I sent an invite to speak, to at least share a picture of what ULS is organizing as we get into the general meeting. I would just request you to accept the microphone to speak. Eddie or Caesar and the son of Loyola or Ferdinand. And yeah, also, I think initially I also seen Kakande on call, but I can't seem to. He has been on call, but once he gets back, I will ask him to send a request to speak. I see when the first young lawyers is ready to proceed. Yeah, Caesar, when we hosted you, it was a very good discussion. I don't want to reflect on it myself because it was when you are around. And I know you have a parting short call to young lawyers which you would want to share. In just 2 minutes, I would have given 1 minute, but I want to give you 2 minutes. You can use the third one to search. Caesar, over to you.
Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ellison. You fought the good fight, and it's now almost coming to an end. And your voice has been heard loud and clear. Was it November last year? No, December, when we got an injunction that stopped the election that was scheduled for 17th of December 2024. Very many people went mute. Very many people went quiet. People lost hope. People stopped campaigning. People stopped talking. You could literally see tears of despondency cascading people's visages. Every lawyer that you met was lamenting. There was only one person that kept the light aloft. There was only one person that kept our hope alive. Every Wednesday, people prepared the entire day and set aside the evening time to listen to the only voice of hope that we had remaining in the profession. And Edison delivered beyond the wildest of expectations and dreams. He traversed the entire country. He looked for people that everyone probably had ignored. He brought them on board, and their voices were heard. He made us realize that the profession is beyond us. It's not about him. It's not about me. It's not about you, Alfred, Joy, Mercy, and all the other people in the room. It was beyond. Edison was far beyond him. And that's what he made everyone of us believe. But above all, Edison gave us a solution to one of the problems, the biggest problems probably that have bedeviled our judicial practice and in a very long time, case backlog. And Edison brought a proposal, the only viable proposal that I've heard from any other candidate. All the other candidates have been speaking English. Only Edison has spoken practically, and only Edison has provided a viable, workable solution. Something that is in the law, and something that we need to operationalize as early as yesterday. So for me, it's not just about an election. It's just not about the Judicial Service Commission. It's beyond. It's about the cries of 45 million Ugandans that continue going to courts and continue going back home without even a sense of justice. And like it has been said time and again on these spaces, that when you get your judgment in a short time, then there are question marks. We have made it seem like the norm is now the exception. We should be crying when it doesn't happen. We should not get surprised that it has happened. And that is what Article 142 seeks to introduce as, proposed by Ellison on mission-based judges. That once we operationalize this article of the Constitution, when justice is not delivered in a timely manner, that's when we should get surprised. But getting surprised should be an exception. The norm should be that work is not just done, but also seen to be done. And so in a nutshell, Alfred, for me, I honestly think that there is no other person who has proved themselves beyond reasonable doubt other than Mr. Edison Karuhanga as someone who has the interest of the bar at heart. Edison is a perfect embodiment of resilience. Edison is the only candidate among all the candidates vying for this position that never abandoned the lawyers. He has campaigned from December last year up to today. He has talked to us every single week. In fact, every single day. No other person has done that. that is testament to someone who is willing to continue doing that on a daily basis, because that's what is demanded of him. When he goes to the Judicial Service Commission, he needs to keep taking the voices of lawyers. Who else can take those voices there other than the only person who keeps talking to lawyers, who has kept talking to lawyers, and who is going to keep talking to lawyers in order to ensure that the voices of lawyers are heard? A call to all the lawyers, both young and old, is that on Saturday, inshallah, come and vote Ellison Karuhanga, the lawyer's lawyer, to present us on the Judicial Service Commission. I can assure you your vote will not be in vain. Thank you, Alfred. And thank you, Edison.
Thank you, Caesar. Thank you very much. We are humbled.
Yeah, thank you, Caesar.
Thank you, Caesar.
I also want to add your call. Yeah, Edison is really never abandoned the lawyers, and he has and I'm sure he will never do so. I also just want to add your call to call upon all the young lawyers. You know, as I passed unopposed, I know there were many people who are going to vote for me. So all those who are prepared to vote for me, extend that vote to Mr. Elson. You would have voted for me, which would have been my vote. Just extend to Elson and you will be covered, because we're having these spaces, and surely Elson has also allowed become part of us, the young lawyers, because he has given us the privilege trustee together with him to show how accommodative he is. I want also, as I invite Samuel to share, to speak, to discourse as well, Samuel Kakande, I also want to invite Diana Nisima. You know, Madam Diana, we can't speak of BNI without speaking of Madam Diana, and all those 53 Wednesdays she has been with us. I'm sure she has a lot to reflect with us. So I've sent a request to speak. I pray that she accepts it. Also, there is a brain behind these conversations. As we have the last dance, it will be too unfair not to listen to that brain. There's a brain which cooks, and whatever we deliver here, there's a person who is always leading the chef's cooking, and that's Madame Elaine. I also request her to have a word as we conclude, as we have this last dance. By the meantime, let's first hear from Samuel, as Rain also prepares, our head of production of these conversations, as also prepares to speak. Samuel, over to you as the others get on board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Good evening and good morning to all our listeners. You can hear me, Tim?
Clearly.
All right. People have said, and as we said, this is the last dance. For me, personally, it's the beginning of who you are, Ellison, and what you stand for. Thank you for taking us through these judicial service conversations, and thank you for being a voice of knowledge. Thank you for sharing with all of us, and thank you for sharing with the bar, organizing these spaces free of charge, sharing your knowledge free of charge, and ensuring that we all benefit from this, your innovation. I would share a story of me and you. Very far ago in 2011, I was introduced to you by a colleague of yours, Daniel Mozora. Then I was a young lawyer, having finished LDC. And at that time, you had a very complex issue. But I think we both charted a way out. And from then, I became your secret admirer. You have been a great distant friend, but through this period, we've grown to be brothers. And as we gather today, I would want to personally thank you for your passion for justice, for your unwavering integrity, and your ability You've turned this situation, which has been a complex legal challenge, to an issue of us having opportunities. That you've been able to identify what many people did not know in Article 142, that is the birth of giving lawyers opportunities. I think you should not stop only debating. Let's use your legal ingenuity to ensure that this article is actualized, such that justice will be seen, will be done as well. There's too much backlog, and I think for me personally, if mission-based judges are actualized, backlog will be a game, will be a thing of yesterday. We shall be able to enjoy practice. The people we serve shall also enjoy practice, shall also see justice being done where their cases will be delivered in record time. We've been facing challenges with letters of administration. I was at the family division last week and I left at 10 p.m. But because the judges are few, just imagine for that situation, they had only gotten about 30 lawyers to deliver justice. I think by now the family division and renewal of letters of administration would be done by now. We'd be talking about people having letters of administration. We'll be talking about administration of estates freely and in a cheap way and an efficient way. Lawyers would have gotten money, justice would have been served to the people who need renewed letters of administration and would have moved on to a new thing. The criminals, the suspects who are in custody, by now would be talking about acquittals or convictions, their status either in prison or out of court. Ellison, for me, as the 18th is next coming, I would rally the lawyers, the bar. Let's talk. This is the person I moved with the whole of Uganda. We saw what the bar feels. The bar is a bar that wants to work. Ellison, I call upon all the lawyers, send you to the JSC and let the bar work. Let us work freely. Personally, I would want to thank you for standing close to my brother and our president, Isaac Semakade. Through this hard time, you've spoken without fear of contradiction. You've stood with him. You've given him courage. For me, you are the person I would stand with 1,000 times. And I call upon all our colleagues that come the 18th, let's send a person who has demonstrated resilience. Let's vote a person who has given us opportunity. Let's give a person who has shown his ability to ensure that the bar moves and the bar is innovative. I call upon all my colleagues, young, old, senior, junior, let's give you our vote. Let's send you to JS to ensure that we have credible people. We have reasonable people. You are the lawyer's lawyer. And indeed, in me voting you, I'll be voice straight to the rooms where we have not been represented. In you, I see a person that is going to represent my call, the seniors' call, the juniors' call, to see that we know that practice today will practice tomorrow will be the practice our seniors used to enjoy, the practice where we know the people we represent will have justice. I would have said much. For me, this is emotional because speaking about a brother, a big brother in you, Ellison. I thank you and I call on to the members of the bar to give you this total support for you to be a representative of the Judicial Service Conversation. And thank you very much all that have made this possible. Thank you and thank you and thank you. Akume. Thank you very much, Alfred.
Thank you, Sam. For those who don't know, Mr. Samuel Kakande is the chairman of our campaign. And as chairman of our campaign, he took time out of his practice to travel with me around the country, and he has taken time to really be a supporter of ours. If you say we've been here for every day, I can confirm to you that for every day that we've been here, Kakande has been here. If there are days we felt like stopping, Kakande has really stopped us from stopping. So it is me who is extremely grateful to you, Sam, and you have certainly become a friend much closer than a brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think what I pick is Kakande's topic, and really that's amazing. And just to add to Kakande's voice, in sending Elson to the Judicial Service Commission, it's like we are going ourselves. Like at this point, I want to call on Ferdinand Tumuhaise to share a reflection of the conversations and to maybe to add a voice to this topic as we have the last dance. As the patients are laying, I know they are coming on anytime soon. Thank you in advance. The so commonly known son of Loyola. Over to you.
Thank you, Alfred. Now what can I say? But please confirm you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
For a few who don't know, I was the chief campaign agent for Elson. That we thought started this almost kind of like Elson do it. At first it seemed like, no, maybe it's a wastage of time. What is the purpose? But along the journey, I think we saw the real purpose. So recently I had a conversation with Councillor Alon Mlindwa, and he was talking about the frustration of registrars in signing notice of motions and the same time issue hearing notices that when a registrar sits down and says, let me commit this day and sign 100 applications, the next day they found they have tripled. So that's why even getting dates become very hard. The other scenario is that I think from our conversations with looking at most magistrates or even judges having like over 1,000 cases, you can imagine the time it takes to conclude a case, and you find that there is one person who is seated there with over 1,000 to read. So, fellow members of the Ghana Law Society, as we stand towards the transformative change in our justice system, I want to urge you, Elson Kalhanga, as one of the Uganda Law Society representatives to the Judicial Service Commission. We are all know it's a norm that we're in a nation where justice is not simply delayed, but it is over delayed, and which means actually there is no justice at all, because justice delayed is justice denied. But in all this torment is hope. There is a man called Elson. He's bringing the broad vision, unyielding integrity, and the first person to give a practical solution, practical reforms that is needed to restore faith in our courts. Elson, as he has introduced himself, is a partner at Campus Advocates, with a deep expertise in litigation. He was at one time, I don't know if he's still the ambassador of energy and oil and gas in the country, and has spent almost an entire year traversing the country, seeking for not only for votes, but understanding the issue. Fred is talking us talk about young lawyers. I don't know if there's any other candidate who has understood the needs of young lawyers, who has moved
all over the country. I think at one time the State House was not sure whether Ellison is campaigning for ULS Representative Jesse or wanted to take over the seat at Plot 1 Nakasero Road. But as we continued, it was not a joke. Ellison was serious in what he wanted to do. He's a person who has spent almost his entire year championing accountability and efficiency. We all know that his nationwide campaign of nobody is beyond being a slogan. Maybe also to remind that today we needed to pay tribute to the man who said, nobody can stop reggae. The man has rested. The lion of Nile was one of the people who used to say, nobody can stop reggae. But so rest in peace. For us, we are still saying the cause for change, for reforms, the cause to ensure and at least had in 1 year is unstoppable. We shall not stop to say nobody can stop. As I've already talked about, the number of backlog cases is enormous. But who has a solution? Of all the candidates, who has a solution? There's only one candidate, Elson Karhanga, and he's saying the law under Article 142 says a senior advocate of 15 years standing who is qualified to be a judge solve this problem, get out. So the cause for appointment of temporary judicial officers is one of the things we must thank Elson. And Elson, I want to applaud you that I read the Constitution for 4 years. I read it at LDC, but I never understood Article 142 until 5 years later in practice that you were able to educate me. Therefore, that notwithstanding, say that Elson's cause is not only about appointment of temporary, and now actually Elson is called the lawyer for temporary judges. The cause is not only about temporary judges, but Elson is also putting his message forward about judicial transparency, accountability, having equal opportunity for all aspirants, fiercely fighting corruption that erodes public trust, as we have had so many cases. I think we have had a situation where we are saying people apply for jobs to be judicial officers, they are interviewed, but they never see results. They only see other people being announced. You don't know, did you fail or did you pass? Elson is saying when he comes in, he will have to fight to make sure that all of that is changed. So therefore, I'm saying, my dear young lawyers, I know majority meet you, son of lawyer, son of lawyer, son of lawyer. In the Twitter, when I declared myself to stand to replace Philip Munabi as secretary, that I saw, I'm saying, can we, all young lawyers, especially those who have benefited from my knowledge at law schools, who have been using my notes, I'm asking you to pay me royalties by voting Eson Karhanga on 18th October. Let's be there, we meet there and drink some beer and champagne. Vote Eson Karhanga for a judiciary that serves all Ugandans. Thank you very much, Alfred.
Thank you, Ferdinand. Here.
Even your notes, you never discussed that. How did you miss that as our Avadi scholar? You wanted to fail us. But also, meaning the cause of those who want to pay royalties for passing using your notes. Even me, I want to call those who always say, I'll never pay the Dear Anglia series. You can pay me back, or you can pass back by voting Elson on 18th. Now we are going to the mouth of this conversation, the one who cooks. When we want to stop eating, she always gives us another food to continue eating. Over to you, Madam Elaine. Thank you.
Very much, Alfred. But I think it would be to speak before Dana has spoken. So perhaps we'll let her speak first and then I can come in.
Yeah.
But I've sent her another request to speak. So as he made his thoughts, I request you to just proceed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And those of you who've been listening to this show, as you can imagine, this is a very emotional time for us, especially that the topic of this conversation today is the last dance, bar, bench, and ballot. If this is indeed the last dance of the judicial service conversations, then what a rhythm it has been. When we first dreamt of this space, the vision was simple: to bring the bar, the bench into honest conversation and to let ideas, not egos, lead the way. Tonight, hearing everybody's voices, from the young and the fiery to the wise and the seasoned, I believe we've done exactly that. And allow me to say something about Ellison Karuhanga, the calm at the center of this storm and the heart behind this entire series. Ellison is just one of the most level-headed, consensus-building people I have ever met. He meets everyone exactly where they are, from my young friend Ndasi of the famous council, lawyer, pleader, Totumio to get the Londa, Tick, to the Right Honorable Speaker, former Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Rebecca Kadaga, to the Attorney General, who we might seem to be at loggerheads with as a bar generally, but even to the Chief Justice, and of course to our most perpendicular and radical new bar, headed by our most perpendicular president. Ellison is a voice of consensus. He speaks to all with the same humility, the same grace. He's not looking for favors. He's looking for fairness, for justice. And it's not just something that he talks about. It's something that he genuinely believes. And I have to say, yeah, and Ellison, this is coming from the depths of my heart, that there is a certain resilience about you that reminds me of now our fallen, departed Ward Jaramogi Raila Amolo Odinga, the man who first said nobody can stop reggae, as Son of Loyola has said. That same quiet, unbreakable spirit, that calm insistence on truth, even when the tides turn rough, lives in Ellison too. And like Raila, Ellison carries the belief that you can bend with the storm but never break. That justice may stagger, but it must never fall. Now, I've personally been accused of not suffering fools gladly, and that accusation is fair and true. But I have enjoyed every evening hearing everybody on this show sparring and stretching each other's minds, especially our most perpendicular president. When you meet him head to head, when him and Ellison meet head to head, sparks fly, but always in service of something bigger than all of us. It's with little wonder that they are not just friends, but certainly comrades at arms, fighting for the soul of the sanity of our law society. To the team of foot soldiers who have carried this vision, Usa, Mercy, Joy, Alfred, who I'm very proud to congratulate on his appointment to the East Africa Law Society, unopposed, my chief assistant cook, Reina Mujeni, and the entire production team. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for your quiet excellence, your steady hands, and your unwavering faith. You have been the rhythm behind the sorry about that. Yes, you've been the sorry, I keep getting a call coming in. Yeah. You have been, oh dear, somebody seems to be looking for me from Kampala. Yeah. So you have been a rhythm behind this reggae, and I am so proud to have had the honor to serve beside you. And finally, to the bar, this is our moment. An opportunity of a lifetime must be used within the lifetime of the opportunity. So let's make it count. let's make it worthy and let's keep the rhythm alive, because as Raila said, and as Ellison's life and his commitment and his journey throughout these months has shown us, nobody can stop reggae. So, Ellison, it has been my absolute honor to work beside you, and my absolute gain to meet every single person that I have had the honor of meeting in these conversations. And I thank you very much for not just what we've done in the last 38 weeks, but the fact that we, in some way, shape, or form, changed the scene, because we have made it possible for people to believe that we can do what we can where we are. And there's nothing more powerful than that. So thank you. And yeah, like I said, it's been my most absolute honor, and I wish you all the best. You're the man that deserves this, and I have you will deliver beyond anybody's wildest imaginations at the JSC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elaine. It is surely my greatest honor. For many people who listen to us, you may not know Elaine Aloro Matovo. She is the force behind the Judicial Service Conversations, together with Reina and, of course, every one of us who are here, and Chairman Kakande, who and many other people who I'm seeing on the call, people like Rachel Dumba, Patience Karazare, Diana Ninsima Chibuka, Nicolas Opio. But I think, Elaine, we are humbled that you really took so much time to really help put together these conversations and to really force us to have these conversations. I think what I've learned most is that it is better that when you walk alone, you may move quickly, they say, but when you walk together, you go far. And certainly we have walked together with you, Elaine, and I think on behalf of these conversations, as on the penultimate phase, it would be complete dishonesty for me not to salute your contribution, your guidance, your thought process, your work product. And I can say without fear of contradiction that we are grateful and that we are proud of you.
Just to add to that, I want to salute Elaine for her hard way of teaching. It needs one lecture to teach you one thing for a lifetime. I'm very, very grateful, Elaine. I don't want to leave. The quiet confidence, Reina June, kindly, I shut your microphone and be quiet, small loud as we get. I had heard the Kabila requesting to speak. I don't know, but he went off before I could accept his request. Crispus, so well, you could just share your request to speak, and we have you share your comments, and also Akola Rushad. I think those will be our last, because it's getting to midnight in some time zones, and some of us, they may not open for us when you get back home. Yeah, as we get to have Raina or Akola Rushad accept, or even as at the Alex was supposed to share with us. I think it was also sorting his network. As we have, you can start having the parting shots from Joy, as we have a last dance before we get to our commissioner. Thank you. Yeah, as Joy sorts the microphone, we have our head of production, the quiet confidence, the quiet deliverer. Right now, over to you, sir.
Am I audible?
Loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Like Elaine, I'm also not on ground today, but I'm very happy to join you guys once again.
Happy to have another Wednesday with this amazing team of thought leaders. I sat in a conversation about women who are practicing law. That is with our very own Nalongo. And she's unavailable, of course, today, but we commiserate with her, and we really, really do sincerely send our condolences. But on that day when her and Prima came on to the judicial service conversations, they were tasked with explaining how, one, what it means to them in terms of being able to appear in court and to a judicial officer that I am feeding, and that is why my shirt is mapped with, of course, I would say lactation. So much of that spoke to me. A lot of our practice goes, it goes unmatched in terms of the gender. There are many things that the female gender goes through that the men do not. And there are many things that we also ought to acknowledge as a result of generally how God decided to create us. And that particular conversation came to, it was so enlightening for me. The way I look at my female workmates, it also changed the way I look at many other people who are in this struggle, where you travel. Say, for example, today I happened to appear before the Honorable Justice Farouk Lubega in a matter in Mbale where a foreign client has been complaining about, the very first question they asked us is, what is this life cycle of a case in Uganda? And I could not answer that. In fact, I laughed as soon as I heard it. But I then got to realize that I laughed, but I also became a victim. Because each time I traveled up country, spending millions of shillings in fuel and a lot more in time, and then a lot more in being able to know, just be able to attend on behalf of your client. They would just come and then they tell you, the judge, the Honorable Justice, has a court session. They could have communicated the day before, they didn't. But you attend court cases in Fort Portal, in Masindi, in Hoima, in Mbarara, in Bushenyi, now in Kavale, and the general feeling is that these guys just don't take us very seriously. And what these judicial service conversations have been doing is they have brought to the forefront the plight of the litigator. They have brought to the forefront the plight of the court practitioner, the person who is actually seeking to file a suit before a court of law and wondering, will I actually obtain justice? And in the event that we are able to send our most perpendicular commissioner to the JSC, I am so sure these are some of the things that he will be able to address. And I am happy that he has been able to listen to them, on top of also listening to the plight of judicial officers as well. Because I think you happen to host some judicial officers who explained that the backlog has been a threat, a health threat to them as well, because you find judicial officers sitting from 9 a.m. up to 4 p.m. and thereafter, and that's just in hearing cases. Thereafter, they are having to write rulings and then also attend to their families, and it's really unsustainable. But where there has been a shortfall, our most perpendicular commissioner has also come through and said, I think it's very, very necessary that we use the article of the Constitution that was bestowed onto us as legal practitioners. And I feel very, very, very humbled to have been part of your team, but also I would most certainly vote Mr. Ellison Karahanga, because just because I have been part of his team, I do not necessarily have to approve of his ideas. But of the 14 candidates, I would challenge anyone here to bring to me any one single idea that has the fact that, one, you're bringing power back to the people, and then you're also enabling a disservice to become a service, and you're also reducing the court backlog and bringing back justice back to the people. I think your ideas are they are so wide in terms of how they are affecting each and every one of us, and I am proud of that. Thank you, Ellison. Thank you, Alfred. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Mercy. Thank you, Elaine. Thank you, Ellison, of course, most especially. Thank you, Sam. And thank you, Utha. I noticed that Utha is listening in, but then you guys haven't been speaking about him, but he's a very, very, very influential part of your campaign. And I really do wish you the best. To those who are wishing to stop this election tomorrow, well, may you fail. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina.
Thank you, Raina. It's I think this whole week has been quite emotional, and the conversation right now is not making it any better, but I promise not to cry. It's been quite a journey for me from the time I got on here. I started off as a listener, as a contributor, and now honored really to take part and to get to, first off, get to work closely and be mentored by Ellison, to get to work with Elaine, to get to work with Alfred, with Raina, with Mercy, with Usa. Usa is the one making sure that we are on the screen perfect, and also the designs, our flyers and all that. So for me, it's really been quite humbling. It's been transformational. As a young lawyer, straight out of LDC, trying to figure it out in the field, what is this, what works here, this and that. I guess right now I have graduated. I'm graduating. It's just that I think I was joking with somebody that I must have missed my Solomon Lee swearing in something. But it's been a journey. And what I can say maybe to somebody who has not first off experienced Ellison is that he's a grounded man. He pays attention. He's present. And I think for me, it's been the mentorship of just being granted that opportunity to be in this same room and observing what happens, the communication, the decision, and also in this last bit, with everything going on, the calm. I think it was Elaine who mentioned that he's the calm in the team, and considering that he's the candidate, where I would be panicking and anxious and thinking, oh my goodness, this and that. And when you talk to him, it's like, everything is going to be okay. Like everybody is running crazy, but he's saying everything is going to be okay. So I think at some point I've just been picking, okay, if the candidate is okay, then I think we're going to be okay. So it's that kind of person from my experience. And then also getting to work closely with Elaine. It's been a whole bit of being thrown in the deep end and swimming with making sure there's no drowning, because you cannot afford to drown. So I just want to appreciate you, everybody that is a part of this team, even the chairman, Sam Kakanda. It's been an honor, basically, for everybody. Yasin as well. Yasin has been calling almost, how is it going? Is this okay? this and that, like getting to know the team and how they're all coming together to just see that this is going in that direction, pushing. For me, it's been a lot to learn, a lot of exposure, and I just want to honor you. I want to appreciate you, and I just want to call on every single person who has the capacity and the ability to vote that we are not just saying this personally. I'm not just saying this because of this opportunity that's been granted to me, but I can vouch and say that I have seen firsthand a man who does what he says, a man who is resilient, a man who shows up, a man that you can trust, a man that still makes decisions, even though the boat is rocking, it's stormy, but he's still level-headed, if that is, I think, the term I can say. A man who remembers the plight of the young lawyers, because as a young lawyer, I think I've been sharing communication, some things I've been learning here and sharing on my socials, and it's been impactful. And who would think that, actually, when I got on, I didn't even know that this was a campaign. I honestly did not know. It was later that I got to realize, okay, so this is a whole campaign going on. For me, it was a space that was contributing greatly to the justice system, bringing on people that are involved in decision making, that are contributing, that are being affected from all kinds of levels. And as a representative of the young lawyers, we have benefited quite a lot. And the whole bit of the campaign just came in later. So now, if you do not vote for this person, if you do not rally behind him and send a man who is going to do the work, then I do not know what you're going to do, not just to us as young lawyers, to the law society, but to the nation at large. I please ask you, rally behind him on Saturday. And for those that are fighting this, I don't know what you're fighting, but you're delaying everything and you're affecting everybody involved in different capacities. So with that said, notwithstanding, thank you very much again, and nobody can stop reggae. Oli mujawa omusajja asinga Ellison Karhanga.
What I can say, words for me, words fail me, for I doubt that they can convey the real message of how I'm grateful to have hosted these spaces with Elson Karuhanga, the lawyer's lawyer. When Elson reached out to me in Feb to host the discussion, even me, I didn't know about Article 142, but the way he reached out, I was like, I used to tell my colleagues or young lawyers that just moving with a senior lawyer and he pats you on the back like this, that's enough recommendation to walk into several spaces. And I don't know, I'm grateful to have been sales on every Wednesday and even on other days, and patting me on the back like, I trust you to deliver, or I trust you to do that. So at those moments when he was away and he was like, no, the ones can't stop because I'm away, you people proceed. That trust, even if I felt like I wasn't able to deliver, made me like, I think I can deliver on this. And I will thank him for the trust and for giving us the privilege or the benefit to host these conversations with us. Personally, to host with him those sessions where the space has ended up because of network and says, quit another link. Well, we're all panicking, like, what are we going to do now? It's like, don't worry, keep calm, create another link and we proceed. I just thank for that trust. As I said, words fail me, for I doubt they can convey the real message of how I'm grateful to have hosted these conversations with Mr. Elson. But I'm really grateful, and I really thank him and the whole team for always patting us on the back. That's enough recommendation. And personally, I undertake, because when you have people, we know that Elson is like, okay, your mentor, or we know that you're always in contact with Elson. So even when you're doing things, it's beyond you alone. It's also his name on the line or other people's name on the line. So even now in your endeavors, you don't act, let me say, stupid, because like, even Alfred, because it's not just your brand on the lane, but even the big man's brand on the lane. So your mentorship exceeds to that extent that even when in our actions we have to deliver, because we don't want to disappoint the lawyer's lawyer after having trusted us. So we are very grateful, and as you have served us as the lawyer's lawyer, we're also always available to serve you as and when you need us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Alfred. Thank you, all colleagues who are listening. It has been my singular honor to host these judicial service conversations. It has been my singular honor to host them the first time, and it has been my singular honor to host them this time. We host them, of course, in sad circumstances. That for 35 weeks, the choice of the Law Society has been curtailed. The choice of the Law Society has been curtailed. There's a very serious risk to that choice being curtailed before the end of this week again. It's a sad moment, therefore, for us as lawyers, that the choice of the lawyers to obey the Constitution, to obey the orders of the court, currently hangs in balance. But for every dark cloud, and I can tell you that over our society right now, there is a dark cloud, there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is clearly the Law Society. And these conversations have, for me, been a great silver lining. I'm a candidate in an election where I do not stand before you colleagues to claim perfection, but persistence. To carry your voice to the Judicial Service Commission will certainly be a great honor. Having these debates and these conversations has been a great honor indeed. We are not in these elections to prop up. As you've seen, we've created a team. We are about restoring a voice to the bar, restoring confidence to the bench, and restoring faith to the public. So allow me, at this juncture, to thank everybody who has consistently tuned in to the Judicial Service Conversations, who has sat with us for long hours, who has listened to these debates constantly and consistently, and who has participated in all our conversations. I would have read a list of everybody who has been here, but I shall not. What I can say is that we have talked, we have discussed, we have debated, we have learned. Allow me to thank my co-hosts, Mercy Makabai Chemutai, Joy E. Babazi, and Alfred Muyaka. The endurance and sacrifice, your ability to come here at your cost and on your time to participate in a discussion about nothing other than improving the country, with no position, with no pay. Thank you. To Reina, to Elaine, who have helped us to produce, to our production team, thank you. Colleagues, we close out this space with a very serious risk of an injunction tomorrow. In fact, we close out this space as rumors have started to fly around that an injunction may well have been granted tonight. But those are rumors. We close out this space, colleagues, when some of the people who are making prayers are actually sending celebratory messages. My assurance to the Uganda Law Society is this. Only when, as someone said, the night is dark, can you see the stars. And that the darkest hour is the one that is always just before dawn. Injunction or not, colleagues, tonight is dark. But that just means this is the hour just before dawn. Injunction or not, colleagues, the night is dark, but it is tonight that we can see the stars. And so let me tell you this, as we wind up this space. We are grateful to you all. We are grateful for the endurance. There is, if to some people there is celebration, I can tell you that the fight in this dog is still there. Someone once said that this dog won't hunt. I want to assure members of the Law Society, this dog will hunt. Make no mistake about it. Injunction or no injunction, the voice of Uganda Law Society will obey the Constitution of Uganda. Colleagues, injunction or no injunction, in the darkness of this night, from these conversations with all the people we have spoken to, the stars are brightly shining. And so on this dark night, in the penultimate space of the Judicial Service conversations, allow me to conclude how we've always concluded. Allow me to conclude by thanking our guests. I think we had Shamim Amolo, who helped us. I think some of the other candidates were not able to come through. But colleagues, we shall end like we always do. The music will not stop. The rhythm will not stop. Of course, to colleagues from Kenya, it would be a remiss for us not to salute a great statesman of East Africa, Raila Amolo Odinga, who also passed on today. A great statesman of East Africa, a great friend of Uganda, and someone who some of us knew. As we close the Judicial Service conversation today in what we are calling the penultimate conversation, as we are giving our last dance on the bar, the bench, and the ballot, as we are giving our last dance to the bar, the bench, and the ballot, there is a dark night, colleagues. But get your pens and your basins ready. Get your pens ready. In those basins, we shall be voting. And you shall, I hope, be voting for me. But as we always say it, right here on the Judicial Service Conversations, we said it the first time we were here, and we'll say it today. No matter what, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And remember this, no matter what, nobody can stop reggae.